So was it your master's or your doctorate that you focused on youth ministry in Canada?
It was the doctoral program, yeah.
And what was your thesis?
The thesis, I was a big part of my youth ministry when I served with the Baptist Convention and the denominational office was on involving youth in short-term mission experiences. And when I was a youth pastor, I saw quite clearly that involvement in week-long mission and service experiences for kids changed their lives and really turned them from a self-centered focus into a focus upon other people, and they developed gifts and abilities and interests in serving others, and it was a life-changing experience. So I wanted to explore that, so that's really where the focus was for me. Yeah.
You're in the Maritimes, Nova Scotia. You're teaching graduate students.
That's right. Yeah, master's and doctoral students at a theological seminary.
Right, in youth leadership.
That's right.
What is the connect, if any, between your leadership theory and the youth culture that surrounds Acadia University and even is there in Acadia University?
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic in that we have a theological school on the campus of a secular university. Right. And not just any secular university. You know, according to Maclean's rankings, 18 of the last 19 years, we're in the top 3 for smaller universities and countries. So it's a very fine university, attracting really sharp kids from across Canada. And trying to teach future ministers and lay people to minister well to younger people in that environment is just a very enriching experience. It's all around you. So you don't have to walk further than across a street to encounter younger people and their issues and to be aware of what's going on. So it's a neat environment in that way.
Okay, so say I'm sitting in your class, you know, I'm there day one, and you know, I'm a green kid from Antigonish or something, and I have this kind of vague sense that I want to get into youth ministry, and so I signed up for your class. I'm listening to your first lectures the first week. What am I learning initially? What would be the sort of the essential DNA or core values of your leadership theory as you teach these students?
A lot of it, I mean, again, depending what course you're taking from me, but I often like to start with you as a person. Who are you? Who has God made you to be as a leader? What are your gifts and abilities? What do you bring to the table in terms of ministry leadership, if you will? I think when we understand ourselves better in terms of who it is that God made us to be, that we can get a greater sense of our calling and our direction. That's something that was missing in my life early on, which as I've studied more and so on, has greatly enhanced my ability to serve, just a sense of who it is that God made me to be. I mean, we're all different. We're all created in the image of God, but with unique gifts and abilities and personalities and experiences. And who are we and how can God use that in His service?
This is not only a healthy exercise in itself, I'm sure, but I would think also this is to help a student understand that he is not to try to be what he's not.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
What do you teach in terms of effective communication? Like cutting across or reaching across the cultural divide between the sacred and the secular?
Yeah. Well, we start by encouraging students to be listeners. I mean, often when we think of communication, the question is, you know, how can I explain this well? Right. Well, I think it begins with how can I listen to this well? Keeping your ear open as you sit down with young people and trying to develop a sense of what's on their heart, what are their burning issues, what's important to them. If you really want to be a supporter and a helper of young people, it begins with knowing your audience. Who are they? What are their needs? What's weighing heavy on their life and on their mind? So I think it would start there. And then I think, you know, a key issue, I think, in communicating with youth is being what I'm going to call a mentor counselor kind of role rather than a preacher finger waver, right? So, you know, we're not the boss, but we're somebody who's coming alongside and saying, I want to help you, but the way in which I help you depends on what you're open to, right? There's the right thing to say, and then there's the right time to say it in a young person's life. And I know as I worked, particularly in the grassroots, week by week with youth, I would often pray, God, help me to understand when they're ready to hear what it is that I think could help them in their life.
We're talking 2010 here now. You started your studies a few years ago.
That's right.
We've got about 3 minutes left. What has changed in terms of youth culture, say even in the last 10 years or 5 years? What has caught you off guard or has maybe challenged some of the conventional wisdom that you had embraced or the leadership theory that you have taught? What has blindsided you about youth culture out there?
I think in some senses, some things haven't changed. I think about the value of relationships, the value of listening, the value of coming alongside and supporting, the value of permanence in a rapidly changing society. You know, I will be in your life and I won't leave you, that kind of thing. But I guess one of the things that I continue to be amazed at is the widening gulf between what I might call historic morality and approaches in life to where a lot of the kids are today, the rapidly secularization perhaps of our culture, and you see it more with the younger folks than you do with some of the older folks. And I guess even though I may know that cognitively, it's when I encounter that one-on-one with people, and I think, you know, here's a kid that I'm working with or speaking to. They've never been to church in their life. They've never heard about Jesus before. It's a blank slate in that respect. There's interest, but there's no knowledge. You know, when I went to school, Jim, you know, we still prayed in school. We said the Lord's Prayer. We read the Bible in school, and this was not in a Christian school, just in a general public school. But that is so far away from the world in which a lot of our kids are growing up in today, and some of us who are older just forget that from time to time.
What about internet-based social networking, Facebook,
Huge,
Twitter, texting?
Hugely different.
I mean, we got information that's circling the globe at 5 times a second. Kids have never been more exposed, never more informed, never more connected electronically.
That's right.
Surely that's got to factor into whatever leadership theory emerges over the next few years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just even if you're a youth leader, the way you connect with your kids is different, right? I would call them every week and check in. Well, it's still a great thing to do if you're a youth leader, but probably before you do that, you've connected with them electronically in other ways, too. Yeah.
I mean, increasingly, church bulletins are kind of out of style because everybody connects through emails and through Facebook. And final question. You have children. How does your leadership theory work with them?
That's good. I have a great relationship with my kids and love them both dearly. And I still find that Dad needs to listen before he provides solutions and suggestions. So that's a growing edge, Jim, for all of us.
So Dad's on a learning curve.
Dad's on a learning curve, and always will be.
He may have a PhD in youth leadership, but he's on a learning curve when it comes to his own kids.
That's true.
Excellent answer. Yeah. Bruce Fawcett, thanks for coming our way.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll be back after this.